All right. Thank you. So I really love this work that I'm able to do. And I'm just delighted to have an opportunity to share it with this group. So thanks Meredith for showing the slides, and I can't tell if they're up right now or not. Okay, let's yes, so the first page of my slide is land acknowledgement. I always like to start with a land acknowledgement, and just like the one for IRPIC, my land acknowledgement is quite broad, but the lands on which I live and work have been inhabited and tended by the Lower Tanana and Dene people since time immemorial. I appreciate that stewardship of the land because it allows me to do the work I do today. I also want to acknowledge the collaboration that we do with the tribes of the Inupiat, Wichin, Sugpiaq, and Tsimshian people, as well as the previous work that will be represented today as well with Athabascans of the Lower Tanana and Lower Koyukon. And it's a privilege to work with, learn from, and come to know these people. Go ahead to the next slide, if you would. Okay, so my first grant was through the US Department of Education. It was an Alaska Native Education Program project called Learning Through Cultural Connections, the Northern Lights. And it started out the good old-fashioned way that many institutional projects begin. I selected the topic. I felt like I knew how communities in Alaska's North Slope and Northwest Arctic would feel about this topic. And so it was a surprise to me when we met with elders in Utqiagvik, Kotzebue, and Nome, and faced questions from them about why we chose that topic. It turns out that while the Northern Lights are certainly beautiful and they inspire awe in everyone who sees them, the elders were wondering what practical knowledge was going to come from a unit of instruction about them. And so I quickly came to realize that coming from my non-native and relatively urban for Alaska background, I really had no idea what rural Alaska children needed to learn. And that was something that their families and community members needed to decide. So this led to a process that became the Cultural Connections Process Model. The current process model is reflected in the upper right-hand corner of the screen there. And it's not rocket science, but what's innovative about it is that we develop or work with a team of local advisors in each community, and they determine the topic and give us themes under that topic that we develop in curriculum that is created at the university. At several different stages throughout the process, there is a review that is conducted by those Indigenous advisors. And then we go back to the university with their input and we incorporate it. And the resources are not finalized until those community members have approved of the products. So it can be a long journey. It can sometimes be a complicated journey, but the end product ends up beautiful. In 2018, I was funded by the National Science Foundation to do STEM teaching in rural areas using cultural knowledge systems, or STEM tracks. and that was funded under the DRK through 12 program. This time we went into the community, in this case, Kotzebue. We had no theme in mind. And with a small group of local advisors, the topic of snow was selected. And then we just asked them, what is important for kids to learn about snow? They gave us several different themes, and our curriculum developer sat at the table and created a mind map based on what they were explaining. And we also got referrals from this team for people in the community, mostly Indigenous people, who were knowledgeable about the subject. And so we went, reached out to those individuals, scheduled interviews with them, filmed the interviews with their permission, and we created both curriculum and videos on the topic. And that became the curriculum that's now titled Kaniksuk, It Is Snowing. And on the next screen, there will be links to that. In 2019, it's not reflected on this slide, but we also got funded for an eye test project. Oh, sorry. I know I referenced the next screen, but would you go back for just a minute? So we also got funded for an eye test project that supported technology-centered community engagement, where they focused on a local challenge that could be addressed using drones. And we used the cultural connections process model in developing the resources for 4 units of elementary school content for that grant. And then our current grant is Cultural Connections to Alaska Science. And it is another DRK through 12 program through the National Science Foundation that further tests this cultural connections process model. Now we're going beyond Kotzebue, and we are testing it in 4 different regions of Alaska, 4 different cultural groups and language groups. And we're simultaneously working with those groups to develop 10 science-themed videos and associated high school lessons. Okay, go ahead to the next page, please. All right, so the products that have been developed are pictured here. These are our student guides that we create, and these go into the hands of students in the classroom. For some, we also have created a Canvas version of the curriculum so that it was necessary during the pandemic so that kids could work remotely and not have the risk of, you know, germ transfer by everyone handling the same resources. But we're back to using printed versions of these curricula now. And as you can see, the student guides are highly visual in nature, and that is by design. It's meant to engage the students and really draw their interest. Plus, all of these images are images that are local. And when the kids see them, they see their lives and their environments reflected in the curriculum that's being used in their classroom. And that results in better engagement and result of when students come into the classroom, they feel welcome there. They feel like the resources have been created recognizing their unique environment. So our products include student guides as seen on this slide, but also associated with each of these is a teacher's manual that is very comprehensive. It contains all of everything that a teacher needs to know to instruct this curriculum, from documenting the standards that are addressed in each lesson, to a list of the supplies that are needed, and then literally step-by-step instructions that walk the teacher through each activity. So if you have a teacher in a classroom who science is not necessarily where their background is, they don't have to feel intimidated by any of these classroom lessons. It's all right there. Somebody that's fresh to the teaching profession would be able to just pick it up and teach it right away. The educational videos, as I mentioned, we interviewed local people who are knowledgeable on the subject matter. So when children watch the videos, they also see their lives in their home, sometimes their family members in the videos, and they just love them. We have an online pronunciation tool I'll be showing in this presentation. We assembled learning kits and distributed those to each of the communities that the grant served at the time that the grant was being conducted. And that allowed the schools to teach the curriculum without any obstacles. Sometimes acquiring supplies can be a real challenge in rural communities. And then there also are training and demonstration videos, so that if there's a particularly challenging lesson, or for instance, like with the drones project, there was some technology that the teachers might need to learn how to use. The training videos help orient the teachers and prepare them to teach the curriculum. And then through the Cultural Connections to Alaska Science Project, we are developing an online resource repository. So that's a very complicated way of saying we're collecting all of these resources into one place and making them accessible to teachers in Alaska who want Alaska content. So the three projects that I mentioned on the previous slide that are completed are listed here at the bottom of this page. Kaniksuk is the snow unit. Kiakayets is the Aurora unit. And then Drones in Alaska is the most recent unit. And I encourage you to take a snapshot of this page and maybe go visit those sites to explore the resources that are on them. I might be a little bit partial, but I think I'm very proud of all of them. So let's go ahead to the next page.
Lynda, before we go on, Dawn noted in the chat that the third URL doesn't work, and we can figure out how to get that link. Maybe putting it in the chat.
Okay, yeah, I'll double check it at the end of the presentation, and hopefully be able to drop a working link right into the chat.
Thanks.
Okay, so part of our project involves the incorporation of Alaska Native languages. So we create language learning tools, and these are just a couple of pages from the SNOW curriculum that I've put up on this slide. You can see there's on activity 1, there's SNOW vocabulary, and these are a variety of different words used to describe different types of snow. And of course, a teacher coming into the classroom might find it a little bit challenging to pronounce these words, especially since in rural Alaska, we have high teacher turnover rates. And a lot of times teachers recruited to work in rural Alaska classrooms are recruited from outside the state, and they have they're usually new to the teaching profession, but also and this is a major concern, they're new to the Alaska Native culture in which they're being placed, and they don't have familiarity with the culture or the language. So we didn't want that to be an obstacle. Um, and, and early on, we decided to create this Inupiaq vocabulary. It has now been expanded to include all of the different languages that we are working with our various projects. But what I wanted to show today is the Inupiaq vocabulary. So if I'm able to share my screen, I will, I'll jump to that web page real quick and just show you real quickly. So the different words that were selected to be translated as part of the SNOW curriculum are shown here. And we even included words for the wildlife and plants that might be seen in the Arctic. So for the word that walrus is translated into, you just click on the play button.
Eivik, walrus, eivik, eivik, walrus, eivik.
And of course, here we have the word for snow.
Upon, snow, upon.
And it's quite an extensive list of different words. So anyone who has worked in translation into Alaska Native languages will understand that for some words, there's a direct translation. For other words, there may, that for other English language words, there may not be a corresponding word or phrase in that Indigenous language. So we were, we faced that challenge basically by translating any word that or phrase that we could, that we felt like students in the community who maybe didn't speak fluently in the language would still enjoy learning the Alaska Native language word that corresponded. So here's the word for snowflake.
Hannik, snowflake, hannik.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. And can we go back to the PowerPoint? All right. You know, translation is a very challenging thing. It's also a time-consuming thing, but it's extremely important. And the students have really enjoyed learning these words, and it has created an avenue for the elementary classroom teacher to collaborate with the cultural teacher in the school. In most rural Alaska schools, there is a cultural education teacher, and that's usually someone from the community and from the culture. And so they've actually teamed up and taught these language lessons together. And that's been a very good collaboration. The school district has been very happy about it. Okay, let's go ahead on to the next slide. Okay, so We have created a variety of educational videos, and those are critical to the curriculum we've developed. The teachers have said that they found them to be versatile. They engage students in their classroom and while they are teaching this curriculum, but they've also been able to use these videos when they're teaching other subject matter, and they've used the videos in other grade levels as well. So that has been an important factor in our determining how we're moving forward with cultural connections to Alaska science. I'm going to show a little bit of the video, and you'll see how unique they are in that they deliver the science content that centers local knowledge and culture. And they cover the subject matter in a more culturally responsive manner. So I'll go ahead, and if you would allow me to share my screen again. And I will jump over to that video, and I'll just play a couple minutes of it.
By using drones, I like that idea because it can help several ways, like for search and rescues, for checking the berry patch when we don't want to walk a couple of miles back into the woods.
Projects, we got a farm out here, an oyster farm, and we've been kind of doing the surveillance through drones, which has been really innovative. To me, I've always done it by the boat. Get in the boat, go out there and check it, you know. I know it's there. But here they can just let it go off right from the parking lot. Fly 10 minutes over there, they're over the farm area.
And so we came up with the idea of just using drones instead of boats to go out and check the research sites. So go out there at least twice a month to make sure that the buoys and anchors haven't broken off or run away or lost pots. And we also have to look for marine mammals. We have to look for whales and sea lions and sea otters and report all of that if we see them and put them in logbooks. Yeah, so the difference of just being able to see what you can see, say you're walking up a stream, instead of just my eyes view, if I have a drone and I fly that up above me, it gives me what people often call like a bird's eye view.
So some advantages of having a bird's eye view. What exactly is a bird's eye view? If you've ever hiked up a mountain or gone up a hill, you notice that when you start the summit and you're so full of energy, you're so happy, you start going up, you look around and you can notice like, hey, I can see my house, or where that car was. Closer to the top, you'll notice you can see more of the sky, and farther until you get to the very top of that mountain or the hill. And all of a sudden it just erupts and you can see like the whole, like all around you. And you can see, your house is small, your car is small, the trees are smaller, but you can see more of it. With a drone, you don't have to huff and puff up a mountain, right? You can just fly right up and then boom, you can get all that information.
I think
Okay, and I'll stop sharing now. Would you bring the PowerPoint back up? Perfect. So the video resources are all on the websites that I've shared, and I'll add the final website, the drone site, to the chat here in a few minutes. But they really are useful in rural Alaska classrooms that are where they have multi-age classrooms. The teachers have been able to get some students started and allow them to watch the video while they're doing something else, for instance, with the younger students. As you were able to see, they feature knowledgeable Alaska Native people alongside science researchers. The students and teachers have remarked that local faces and places add credibility to the content. They cater to visual learners. They include elder oral histories and storytelling. And then they support, you know, a breadth of topics, not just the one for which it was developed. So as you have time, please check out our videos. And on each of our project websites, there will be a link you can click that goes right to the educational videos for each project. But we've developed probably about close to 10 videos so far, and we have another 10 in development. So we'll have a nice collection by the end of the grant that we're currently working on. Okay, next page. Okay, so we have learned some things through this project and have incorporated best practices. So most of the lessons are place-based, hands-on, outdoors when we can. We, for instance, with the snow unit, we ask the teachers to please plan on teaching that unit when there actually is snow on the ground and not like first thing early in the year, for instance, because there are some activities like the one shown in the bottom right-hand corner, for instance, where they actually go outside and do lab activities. They even have the opportunity to build their own snow shelter as part of that curriculum. We embed critical thinking strategies. There's elder and Indigenous language inclusion, multiple means of assessment. The language is leveled. So we usually are developing curriculum in the elementary to middle school levels, but we work with the teachers in those communities to identify really what the target level is for the classrooms that will be implementing the curriculum. In each community, it will vary because some of the larger communities, maybe they only have 1 or 2 grades in the classroom. But in one of the classrooms that we worked on with the drones project, that elementary school teacher was teaching grades 2 through 5. And that was quite a range. He shared with us that his second graders literally are learning to read. They're lagging behind somewhat due to the delays in language teaching during the pandemic. So they're coming along, but you know, his classroom is a unique scenario. And so we really had to make sure we worked with that teacher to confirm that the language wasn't so advanced that it couldn't be used in that sort of a broad range classroom. And so you'll see that in the student guides. There are collaborative reading activities, collaborative projects. And we also use storytelling in the videos and as activities in the curriculum. And then we always make sure that the materials that are used in in the curriculum are either reusable and supplied in our kits that we distribute to the schools, or they are easily sourced materials that can be either found in the local environment or ordered without a problem. Shipping, there are always shipping delays in rural Alaska, but sometimes we also have to consider what kind of aircraft flies in and out of this community. And is there something that's too heavy or too large for those aircraft? Or is the size or shape of the object something that might make it extremely expensive to ship to a rural Alaska community? So we've tried to address all of those concerns that would impact accessibility for the curriculum that we have created. Okay, next slide. And so we've learned a few things. We have some publications that are in progress and will be shared through peer-reviewed, science education journals. But we're also giving presentations at cultural and science education conferences. These are just a few of the lessons that we've learned in the past few years that we feel are seem to be across the board, every community that we work with, and that are extremely valuable when trying to implement a co-production project. So recognizing the tribal authority in each community is critical. And that should be the first point of contact in the community when the project starts, and making sure that the tribe is aware. Sometimes the tribe will have its own research protocol and will require that you complete that. It would be sort of like a second IRB on the project. And then to engage the tribe throughout and beyond the project. So with each of our projects, every visit we make to that community, we stop in and we meet with the tribe and we tell them what we've been doing, where the project stands, what our next steps are. So they really do know that we are present in the community and why, what we're doing. Sometimes they actually will help us get our work done. So they're very busy, but they are interested in these projects. And then it's important to make a commitment to the community and just demonstrate integrity. So everything is explained, and the community has each community member has the option of participating or not participating in the project. They understand that they can, if they start working with us and they change their minds, that there's no penalty for that. And we move forward working with those individuals with that understanding and following through with it. So keeping it very flexible. Then pay attention to and follow local communication styles, practices, and mores. So this is another area where the tribe can be very helpful, but also the local school district can sometimes advise you on things to be mindful of and to watch for and imitate in how we engage with the community. One thing that we did learn in that regard was listen more than you speak. Wait to speak until especially the elders in the room have had their say. And And then also just get comfortable with silence. In a lot of Alaska Native communities, if you ask a question, you can expect that the person you have asked it of is going to carefully consider that question and their answer to the question. And that may take a few minutes. And in the meantime, contrary to our Western tradition of filling silence with chatter, we just have to wait. And it can sometimes feel like a long and very awkward silence, but it is important if we want the person we're speaking with to engage with us, that we give them that space for thoughtful contemplation before they respond to our questions. And then for every project that involves work with Indigenous and rural communities, you have to build in the time and the budget to accommodate changing dynamics in that community and allow for flexibility. As an example, we have one community we've been working with, and we encountered one delay after another in meeting with the tribe. And things were happening like the ice broke up on the river and flooded their community. And that required that we give the community time to be responsive to that disaster and recover from it before we came in and asked them to give any priority to our project. Shortly after that, an important elder in the community passed away. And during that time where they were, responding to that loss of a very important person, it was necessary to give space for the community to plan their potlatch, to grieve the loss of that person, and do it in the way that each culture has that's unique. There were just several different things. We needed to present the project to the tribal council, but they had several important things on their agenda, and ours was not the most important thing. And so we had to wait for them to prioritize us and put us on the agenda. It actually took several months until they had the space and time for us to give the presentation. But once we finally were able to do that, they were very supportive of our project, and they appreciated the fact that we didn't move forward ahead of their time, ahead of their our being able to present it to the tribe. We didn't make one interview in the community or start any of our work until we had the tribe's authorization to do so. And because that's the way we started our project with them, they have been extremely supportive of us. There's a trust that has been developed because we've recognized that authority that the tribe has. So those are the important things that we're sharing at this juncture, and there will be even more in our peer-reviewed journal articles. And next slide. So I do work with a team. This is our PI and co-PI team for the Cultural Connections to Alaska Science project. I work with Lori Schoening, who is our senior curriculum designer. And she is supervising or guiding the work of 3 other curriculum developers for a project. And then Sean Asikuluk Topcock is our project researcher. He is an Indigenous person, an Inupiaq man who is also the director of the Center for Cross-Cultural Studies at our university campus. And he was also a co-principal investigator on the earlier STEM Tracks project. So there's some longevity here. He is helping us to incorporate Indigenous methodologies in the curriculum that we're currently developing. And really with each iteration of our work with this cultural connections process model, he helps us to work with these Indigenous communities to make sure that the work is centered within the culture and is representative of Alaska Native cultural ideologies. And so we're very excited to work together on this project and to see how the current resources are going to unfold. Our website for the Cultural Connections to Alaska Science Project is in development. It's coming soon. And the URL is here at the bottom of the page. Our National Science Foundation grant number is also referenced here if anyone is wanting to look that up online. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm not sure if I took too much time or whether we have time for questions.
Thank you, Lynda. That was just wonderful. I was delighted to see all that, and we do have time for questions. And I will say, while everybody's thinking of their questions, that I went to the SNOW curriculum site and looked at some of the videos, and I was particularly struck by the videos that have survival implications for SNOW, that were interviews with the locals who gave you advice for how to survive when you're out in the environment. So those were fascinating. Any questions?
I see one in the
yes, there is one. Sarah Johnson, is she still here?
I'm still here.
You want to go ahead and just ask it?
Hi, Lynda. This is fantastic. And I'm just curious if you've created or not if, you probably already you have, but like evaluation tools for what are the culturally responsive evaluation tools from this as a programmatic level, not necessarily, I mean, and I was digging in and seeing like worksheets and things for like student assessment, but could you talk about that and like point us to could you share any of that?
Sure. And I will start out by saying I am not a curriculum expert. I'm an outreach expert. I wish that my curriculum developer was here with me today, but what I can say is that in each of these units of instruction, there is a worksheet associated with each activity. But those worksheets include, they're not, solely essay questions or multiple choice questions, but there's an opportunity for the students to draw or to engage in some other form of performance, or they can do things like interview an elder in their community and record it, share visual aids that they've gathered from other resources, all kinds of things. So it doesn't limit the ways in which the student can respond or be assessed on their knowledge to just a written language form. And
are you all combining that into a way that, like, say that a large grant would like to see evaluation done? I guess I'm working on a project that is, we're working doing education in Alaska anyway, similar thing, but we're struggling to take all those really strong culturally responsive assessment tools that you just described and turning that into something that, say, a large grantor would accept as like a, so what, like they knew, like rubrics and how to, all the pieces and parts to actually tell that story. And I guess that's the part I'm curious if you've figured that out, because I think it's really challenging.
what I've run into with the grants that we have is really what is required is to provide context and to explain. There always needs to be a way that the students' work with the activity is assessed in some way. We have used rubrics. Currently, there is an answer guide in the teacher's manual. So the answer guide may say, in some cases there are multiple choice questions, but in other instances where there's a drawing, for instance, the student is able to draw something that conveys what they have learned, then it will indicate that the drawing will include the following things. So that's how we have provided a way for the teacher to assess student learning on the classroom work that's part of the curriculum. Other things, of course, we just have to say that student answers will vary because some of them are it's understood that the responses will be subjective. And in a lot of cases, we're encouraging critical thinking, problem solving that does not have one answer that is the only answer. So many of our activities in the classroom are of that nature.
Thank you, Lynda. We have, we're trying to leave a few minutes at the end for Kaya to make a little announcement, but we have one more question. And it says, do you hold regular trainings for new teachers, or do you work with school districts to encourage recurring use of curriculum?
Yes, so we do provide a teacher professional development workshop before the curriculum is distributed to the school district that we're working with. And in the case of the Northwest Arctic Borough School District, which is the district that we have worked with all of our projects. So consecutively, we have worked with them for 9 years now. They have made this curriculum mandatory curriculum, or not mandatory, but part of their core instruction in the classroom across the district. And because of that, they have asked us to do a 1-day workshop with their elementary school teachers and their cultural educators together during the school in-service training. So we make that an orientation to the curriculum, but also an opportunity for those individuals who are knowledgeable on the subject matter, both from the community and from the university, to give short presentations or do activities with the teachers to give them more information about the subject matter that just raises their level of competency in teaching the subject.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And Lisa, thank you for that question. Lynda, thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over really quickly to Kaya. She's got an announcement. And thanks, everybody. Thank you, Lynda.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Lynda, very much. That was excellent presentation, and thanks everyone for joining. Just a quick note that I think Meredith also put in the chat. Michelle, Lisa, and I are trying to advance the One STEM Hub that I think you all are aware of. So there's a feedback link on that page. If anyone has thoughts there that they can share with us to improve that, we would appreciate it. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to any of the co-chairs, Michelle, Lisa, or myself, as we try to work on making that resource more useful to the community among us in Arctic STEM. So thanks, everyone. I guess turn it back to Lisa quickly.
Okay, thanks for attending. Thank you to Lynda for this great work that you're doing in the community. We appreciate your being here today, and I hope that everybody will go to the website and look at these wonderful resources that she's made available. Thanks, and we'll see you again at our next quarterly meeting, I hope. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you to Meredith, too, for running the show.
No problem.